What I'm about to tell you will change how you see invisible men. For 9 years, two people crossed the same bridge at the exact same time every single morning. One was a single father carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. The other was a CEO carrying the weight of an empire she'd built from nothing. They never spoke. They never acknowledged each other. They were strangers sharing the same sunrise, the same worn concrete, the same city waking up beneath them, until the morning she climbed over the railing. This is the story of a man who had nothing, except everything that actually matters. And this is the story of how character attracts grace, even when you're too exhausted to believe in it anymore. His name was Michael Torres, 42 years old, night shift security guard at a warehouse complex on the east side of the city, father to two daughters, Emma, 14, and Sophia, 9. Their mother had left when Sophia was still in diapers, deciding that motherhood and marriage weren't the adventure she'd signed up for. No note, no custody battle, just gone. Michael's alarm went off at 4 a.m. every single morning. Not because his shift ended then, it ended at 5:30, but because he needed that 90 minutes. 90 minutes to get home, wake the girls, make breakfast, pack lunches, help Emma with whatever last-minute homework crisis had emerged, braid Sophia's hair the way she liked it, walk them 3 blocks to his mother's apartment where she'd get them to school, and then catch the 6:45 a.m. bus back across town to catch 3 hours of sleep before he had to pick them up again. The city was still dark when he left work. Cold, too. That particular kind of cold that seeps into your bones when you've been standing on concrete for 8 hours straight. He'd walk the 12 blocks to the bridge because bus fare added up, and every dollar mattered when you were choosing between new shoes for growing feet and keeping the heat on. The Riverside Bridge. Built in 1947, retrofitted in the 80s, perpetually scheduled for repairs that never quite happened. It spanned the canyon where the old river used to flow before they'd diverted it decades ago. Now it was just a concrete scar cutting through the city, a shortcut for people trying to get from the industrial east side to the residential west. Michael crossed it every morning at 5:38 a.m. Exactly 5:38. You could set your watch by him, and every morning at 5:38 a.m. she was there too. He'd noticed her the first week. Hard not to. She was the only other person on the bridge at that hour, walking the opposite direction in the pre-dawn darkness. While everyone else was still sleeping or just beginning to stir, they were both already exhausted from their respective nights. She wore expensive clothes. He could tell even in the dim streetlights. Tailored pants, designer coats that probably cost more than his monthly rent, heels that clicked against the concrete with purpose. Her hair was always perfect. Her posture was always straight. She carried a leather bag that looked heavy with important things. He wore a rumpled security uniform that he hand-washed in the sink every other night because the laundromat was another expense he couldn't always afford. His shoes had holes he'd patched with duct tape on the inside where no one could see. He carried a backpack containing 2 lunchboxes with princesses on them, a folder of Emma's geometry homework he'd help her with later, and a worn copy of Charlotte's Web he was reading to Sophia at bedtime, 20 pages at a time, because that's all his exhausted brain could manage. They never spoke, never made eye contact. She looked straight ahead with the focus of someone going to war. He looked at his feet with the exhaustion of someone coming from one. For 9 years, this was their routine. 2 strangers, same bridge, same moment, ships passing in the darkness. He knew nothing about her except that she was always there. She knew nothing about him except that he was always there too. Michael didn't think much about her, to be honest. His mind was always 3 steps ahead. Did he remember to sign Emma's permission slip for the field trip? Was there enough milk for breakfast? Sophia had been coughing yesterday. Did he need to keep her home? The electricity bill was due Friday. Could he pick up an extra shift? But he noticed her the way you notice anything that becomes part of your landscape. The bridge, the streetlights, the skyline beginning to glow as the sun thought about rising. The woman in the expensive coat walking the other direction. Until one morning in November, 9 years and 4 months after that first time they'd unknowingly shared the bridge, everything changed. It was colder than usual. Michael's breath made clouds in the air. His fingers were numb even inside his work gloves. The city was still dark. though the sky was just beginning to lighten at the edges, that deep blue that comes right before dawn. He was thinking about Sophia's birthday next week, 9 years old. She wanted a bicycle. A real one, not a second-hand one with training wheels from the thrift store. She'd been so careful about asking too, like she already knew the answer might be no. "It's okay if you can't, Daddy," she'd said. "I know bikes are expensive." That had broken something in his chest. The way she was already learning to expect less. The way she was already making herself smaller so she wouldn't be a burden. He was running the numbers in his head as he walked. If he picked up the double shift on Thanksgiving, which meant missing dinner with the girls, which meant disappointing them again, and if he could sell some of his old tools he never used anymore, and if he could find a good deal on a used bike, maybe he could make it work. Maybe he could give his little girl the one thing she'd asked for all year. He was so lost in these calculations that he almost didn't see her. But something made him look up. Some instinct, some shift in the usual pattern of the morning. She was there, on the wrong side of the railing, standing on the narrow ledge on the outside of the bridge, her back to the city, facing the empty canyon below. Her hands gripping the cold metal railing behind her, knuckles white even in the dim light. Michael's heart stopped. For a moment, just a split second, his exhausted brain couldn't process what he was seeing. She was always so put together, so purposeful, so clearly someone who had everything figured out, and she was about to jump. He didn't think. Thinking was a luxury he'd lost years ago when decision-making became split-second calculations about how to keep two little girls fed, clothed, and safe. You didn't think. You just acted. "Hey." His voice came out rough. He was 15 feet away, didn't want to startle her. "Hey, don't, just hang on. Please." She didn't turn, didn't acknowledge him. Her eyes were fixed on the darkness below. From where he stood, he could see her whole body was shaking, and he didn't think it was from the cold. "Please," he said again, taking one careful step closer. His mind was racing now. What do you say? What do you do? He'd been trained in CPR and basic first aid for his security job, but nobody had trained him for this. "Just, let's talk for a second, okay?" "There's nothing to talk about." Her voice was hollow, flat, the voice of someone who'd already made up their mind. "You don't know me. I don't know you. Just keep walking." "I can't do that." Another step. He was 10 feet away now, close enough to see the tears streaming down her face, close enough to see that her expensive coat was buttoned wrong, her perfect hair was messy, her makeup was smeared. This wasn't a decision she'd made calmly. This was desperation. "Why not?" She laughed, and it was the saddest sound he'd ever heard. "Everyone else does. Everyone else walks right past without seeing. Why should you be different?" "Because I do see you." The words came from somewhere deep, somewhere honest. "I've seen you every morning for 9 years. Same time, same bridge. You walk east, I walk west. We never spoke, but I saw you." She turned her head slightly. Not all the way, but enough that he knew she was listening. "You were always so..." He searched for the right word. "Determined. Like you were walking toward something important. Like you had purpose. I used to wonder what you did, where you were going in the dark every morning while the rest of the world was still sleeping." "I was going to work," she said, her voice breaking. "Building something I thought mattered. Sacrificing everything for a company I thought would make a difference. Missing weddings and birthdays and holidays because there was always another deal, another crisis, another fire to put out. And you know what I have to show for it?" She didn't wait for an answer. "Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The board voted me out yesterday. The company I built from nothing, 15 years of my life, every relationship I sacrificed, every moment I chose work over living, they took it away in 15 minutes. Said I was no longer the right fit for the direction the company is heading. They're installing someone else, someone younger, someone who'll work for less and won't push back when they want to compromise the mission." Michael's heart was pounding. He took another step, 8 feet away now. "I understand." he said quietly. You don't. She shook her head. You can't. You don't know what it's like to give everything and have it mean nothing. You're right, Michael said. I don't know what it's like to build a company. I don't know what it's like to be a CEO, but I do know what it's like to give everything and wonder if it matters. She was quiet. I work night shift security, he continued. Have for 12 years. I watch empty warehouses, make sure nobody steals boxes of merchandise that'll be obsolete in 6 months. I get paid $9 an hour. I have 2 daughters I'm raising alone. Every morning I walk across this bridge wondering if I'm enough, if what I'm doing matters, if I'm giving them what they need or just disappointing them in slow motion. He paused, his voice thick. So, no. I don't know your specific pain, but I know what it feels like to wonder if your life adds up to anything. She turned fully now, still gripping the railing but looking at him for the first time. Her face was destroyed, mascara running, eyes red and swollen, the kind of crying that comes from somewhere so deep you didn't know you had tears left. Then how do you keep going? She whispered. How do you wake up every morning and do it all again when you know it's never going to be enough? Let me show you what character looks like when no one's watching. This is the moment. This is where most people would have given her empty platitudes. This is where someone else might have called 911 and waited for professionals. This is where an ordinary person would have done the minimum required and walked away feeling like they'd done their part. Michael wasn't most people. Can I tell you something? He asked. And I know it might not make sense right now, but just hear me out? She nodded slightly. 3 weeks ago, Sophia, that's my youngest, she came home from school crying. Some kids had been making fun of her shoes. They were old, you know, from the thrift store. Had a little hole in the side I'd tried to fix with fabric glue, but you could still kind of see it. And these kids, they noticed. They always notice. He took a breath, the memory still raw. She asked me why we couldn't afford new shoes like everyone else. Asked me why I couldn't just get a better job. Asked me if it was her fault that we didn't have money because there were 2 of them and only 1 of me. His voice cracked. She's 9 years old, and she's already apologizing for existing, already making herself small, already learning that she's a burden. The woman on the ledge was crying harder now, but she was listening. And I wanted to tell her the truth, that I'm doing everything I can, and it's still not enough. That I work myself to exhaustion and we're still 1 emergency away from losing everything. That some nights I sit in my car after I pick them up from my mom's, and I just cry because I'm so tired, and so scared, and so inadequate. Michael took another step. 6 feet away now. But I didn't tell her that. You know what I told her? The woman shook her head. I told her that the shoes don't matter. I told her that what matters is who you are when nobody's watching. What matters is how you treat people. What matters is whether you choose kindness even when it costs you. I told her that we might not have money, but we have something better. We have each other, and we have integrity, and nobody can take that away from us. He paused. And you know what happened? She looked at me with these big brown eyes and she said, Daddy, is that why you always help people even when we're tired? Because character matters more than being comfortable? Michael's throat was tight. She'd noticed. All those times I stopped to help someone change a tire even though it made us late. All those times I gave my lunch to someone who looked hungrier than me. All those times I chose to do the right thing even when it cost me something. She was watching. She was learning. And somehow my daughter, who has every reason to be bitter about what we don't have, she's the kindest person I know. He took 1 more step, 4 feet away, close enough to reach her if she started to fall. So how do I keep going? I keep going because they're watching. I keep going because what I do matters more than what I have. I keep going because every single day I'm teaching them what kind of person to be in this world. And maybe I can't give them everything they want. Maybe I can't protect them from every hurt. Maybe I'm failing in 1,000 ways I don't even see. But if they grow up knowing that character matters more than comfort, that integrity matters more than image, that how you treat people when you have nothing to gain, that's what defines you, then maybe I haven't failed after all. The woman was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. "But you don't understand," she choked out. "That company was my identity. It was everything I worked for. Everything I sacrificed for. Without it, I'm nobody. I don't have kids. I don't have a family. I dedicated everything to building something that mattered, and they just took it away. What's left? You," Michael said simply. "You're left. And I guarantee you, you're more than what you built. The work doesn't define you. What you do next defines you." "I don't know how to do anything else," she whispered. "Neither did I when my wife left," Michael said. "I didn't know how to braid hair. I didn't know how to help with homework. I didn't know how to talk to a 7-year-old about why her mommy didn't want to be her mommy anymore. I didn't know how to be enough for 2 little girls who deserved so much more than a scared, exhausted dad who was barely keeping his head above water." He swallowed hard. "But you know what? You learn. You wake up every morning and you try again. You fail. You get back up. You fail better. You keep going because the alternative is giving up. And giving up means they win. Giving up means all that pain was for nothing. Giving up means you never get to see what comes next." "What if nothing comes next?" she asked. "What if this is it? What if I gave everything and this is all I get?" "Then you were brave enough to give everything," Michael said. "That's not nothing, that's everything. Most people never risk anything. Most people play it safe. Most people never build anything worth taking away. You did. You were brave enough to try. That matters. That counts. And just because this chapter ended doesn't mean the book is over. Are you a single dad watching this? Have you ever felt invisible? Tell me your city in the comments. I want to know where you're from. I want to know you're not alone. Because that's what this story is really about. The invisible people who keep showing up anyway. The woman was quiet for a long moment. The sky was getting lighter now. The city was waking up. Somewhere in the distance, a bus rumbled past. Normal life continuing while 2 strangers stood frozen in an extraordinary moment. "I don't know you," she finally said. "I know," Michael replied. "But for 9 years you were there, every morning. I never looked at you, never acknowledged you, but you were there. Constant, reliable. And somehow on the worst morning of my life you're here again, and you see me." "I do see you," Michael said. "And I'm asking you to step back over this railing. Not because everything's going to be okay immediately. Not because I have all the answers. Not because this pain is going to disappear. But because you matter. Your life matters. And whatever comes next, you deserve to see it." She looked at him for a long time. Really looked at him. Saw his worn uniform and his duct-taped shoes and his exhausted eyes and his outstretched hand. "Why do you care?" she asked. "You don't know me. I could be a terrible person. I could deserve this." "Nobody deserves this," Michael said firmly. "And I care because caring is what we do. It's what makes us human. You don't have to earn the right to be helped. You just have to be human. And you are. So please, please step back." She closed her eyes, tears still streaming down her face, her hands white-knuckled on the railing. And then slowly, so slowly, she took one hand off the railing and reached for his. Michael's heart nearly exploded with relief. He gripped her hand firmly, his other hand reaching for the railing to brace himself, and he helped her climb back over to the safe side of the bridge. The moment her feet touched solid concrete, her legs gave out. She collapsed against him, sobbing so hard her whole body convulsed. Michael caught her, held her steady, this stranger who was no longer a stranger, and he just let her cry. He didn't say anything, didn't try to fix it, just stood there in the pre-dawn cold, holding up a woman who'd been holding up the world for too long and had finally broken. They stood like that for 5 minutes, maybe 10. Time felt strange. Michael was going to be late getting home. Emma and Sophia would worry. His mother would wonder where he was. But none of that mattered right now. Right now, another human being needed him. Everything else could wait. When her sobs finally quieted to shaky breaths, she pulled back slightly, looked at him with red, swollen eyes. "I don't even know your name," she said. "Michael," he said. "Michael Torres." "Katherine," she replied. "Katherine Chen." "Nice to officially meet you, Katherine." She laughed, a broken, watery sound, but still a laugh. "This is the worst first impression I've ever made." "I don't know," Michael said gently. "I think it's the most honest one I've ever witnessed. You're going through hell, and you're still here. That takes courage." "Or cowardice," she said bitterly. "I couldn't even go through with it." "That's not cowardice," Michael said firmly. "That's survival. That's your body and your heart knowing you're worth saving even when your mind is telling you otherwise. Listen to that. Trust that." Katherine wiped her face with shaking hands. "I should call someone. I don't know. Go home. Go somewhere. I don't even know where home is anymore. I've been sleeping at the office for the past year, and now I don't even have an office." Michael reached into his backpack and pulled out a napkin from this morning's breakfast prep, handed it to her. It had a faded princess on it from Sophia's napkin collection. Katherine took it, smiled despite everything. "Frozen?" "Elsa specifically," Michael said. "Sophia's favorite. She'd be honored to know she helped save someone today." Katherine's eyes filled with fresh tears. "You're going to tell her?" "I tell them everything," Michael said. "Well, age-appropriate versions, but yeah. I'll tell them about the morning I met a woman who was brave enough to ask for help. Brave enough to choose to stay. Brave enough to start over. I don't feel brave." "Nobody does," Michael said. "Brave people are just scared people who keep going anyway." He paused, checking his watch. 6:02 a.m. He was definitely late now. "Listen, I have to get home to my girls, but I can't leave you here alone. Do you have someone I can call? Someone who can come be with you?" Katherine shook her head. "I haven't talked to my sister in 3 years. My friends are all work colleagues, and they'll all have picked sides by now. I've been alone for so long I don't even know who to call anymore." Michael thought for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone, a cheap prepaid thing with a cracked screen, and handed it to her. "Call someone," he said. "Anyone. Your sister, an old friend, a therapist, someone. You shouldn't be alone right now. And while you're doing that, I'm going to call my mom and let her know I'm running late." "I can't take your phone." "You're not taking it. I'm lending it. There's a difference." Katherine looked at the phone in her hands, at this stranger who'd given her a reason to stay alive and was now giving her the tools to keep living. She started to cry again. "Hey," Michael said gently. "One step at a time. Right now, just call someone. That's all you have to do. Can you do that?" She nodded. Michael walked a few feet away to give her privacy, pulling out the old backup flip phone he kept for emergencies and calling his mother. "Mijo, where are you?" His mother answered immediately. "The girls are worried." "I know, Mommy. I'm sorry. Something came up. Is everything okay there?" "We're fine, but you're never late. What happened?" Michael looked at Katherine, who was on the phone now, crying but talking. "I'll explain later. Can you get the girls to school? I'll be there as soon as I can." "Of course. Are you all right?" "Yeah," Michael said and realized he meant it. "Yeah, I'm okay. I helped someone this morning. Someone who needed help." His mother was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Your father would be proud. I'm proud. Come home safe." "I will. Tell the girls I love them. Tell them I'll make their favorite dinner tonight. I'll tell them. Vaya con Dios, mijo." When he turned back, Katherine was off the phone. She looked steadier, still devastated, but not like she was about to fall apart anymore. "My sister's coming," she said. "She lives 2 hours away, but she's already in her car. I didn't think she'd answer. We haven't spoken since our mother's funeral, and that was, God, 3 years ago. But she answered, and she's coming." "Good," Michael said. "That's good. Can you wait here for her? Or is there somewhere you'd feel safer?" "There's a coffee shop about 2 blocks from here," Katherine said. "It opens at 6. I can wait there." "Okay, I'll walk you." You don't have to. I know, Michael said, but I'm going to anyway. They walked in silence for a moment. The city was fully awake now. Cars on the streets, other people beginning their commutes. The sun had risen, turning the sky from deep blue to golden pink. Michael, Katherine said as they walked. Yeah? Why were you really there this morning? I mean, I know you cross that bridge every day, but what made you stop? What made you look up at exactly the right moment? Most people wouldn't have. Most people would have been on their phones or lost in their own thoughts or just walking past. Michael thought about it. I was thinking about my daughter's birthday. She wants a bike. I was running numbers in my head trying to figure out how to make it happen. And I guess I looked up because I felt something shift, some instinct, like the universe was saying, pay attention right now. Do you believe in that? Katherine asked. The universe? Fate? God? I don't know what I believe, Michael said honestly. I believe in showing up. I believe in doing the right thing even when it costs you. I believe that we're here to help each other. Beyond that, he shrugged. I'm too tired most days to have a theology. Katherine laughed. A real laugh this time. That's the most honest thing anyone's said to me in years. They reached the coffee shop. It was just opening, warm light spilling onto the cold sidewalk. Katherine stopped at the door. Thank you, she said. I don't know how to thank you enough. You saved my life. You saved your own life, Michael corrected. You chose to step back. You chose to call your sister. You chose to keep going. I just reminded you that you could. Still, Katherine said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a business card. Crossed out the CEO title and the company name with a pen from her purse and wrote a phone number on the back. This is my personal cell. I don't know what happens next. I don't know what I'm going to do. But whatever it is, I want to thank you properly when I'm not falling apart. Can I call you? Can I buy you coffee or dinner or something to say thank you? Michael took the card, looked at her name printed in embossed letters. Katherine Chen, former CEO, current survivor. You don't owe me anything, he said. I know, Katherine said. But maybe I want to. Maybe I want to know the man who saw me when I was invisible. Maybe I want to hear more stories about Sophia and her bicycle and Elsa napkins. Maybe I just want to buy you a cup of coffee and say thank you in a way that doesn't involve me crying on a bridge. Michael smiled. Okay, yeah, I'd like that. Good. Katherine managed a small smile. I should go in. My sister will be here soon and I probably look like I've been hit by a truck. You look like someone who's been through hell and came out the other side, Michael said. That's not something to be ashamed of. Katherine's eyes filled with tears again, but she blinked them back. Go home to your daughters, Michael Torres. Hug them tight. Tell them their dad is a good man. I will. And Katherine, you're going to be okay. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually, you're going to be okay. How do you know? Because you're still here, Michael said simply. That's all the proof I need. Have you ever done something good that nobody noticed? Have you ever helped someone when you had nothing to gain? Tell me in the comments. Tell me about a time your character was tested and you chose right anyway. I want to hear your stories. Michael walked the 12 blocks home through a city that suddenly felt different. The same streets, the same buildings, but something had shifted. He'd woken up this morning thinking about his failures, how he couldn't afford a new bike for his daughter, how he was just a security guard making $9 an hour, how he was never going to be enough. But he'd stopped a stranger from jumping off a bridge. He'd given another human being a reason to keep living. He'd been exactly where he needed to be at exactly the right moment. Maybe that counted for something. When he got home, Emma and Sophia were waiting at the window. They burst out the door when they saw him coming up the walk. Daddy! Sophia crashed into his legs. Abuela said you had to help someone. Who did you help? Emma, older and more cautious, just hugged him tight. Are you okay? She asked quietly. Michael knelt down and wrapped both girls in his arms, held them close. breathed in the smell of their shampoo and their breakfast and their aliveness. "I'm okay," he said. "I'm more than okay. And yeah, I helped someone this morning, someone who needed a friend." "Did it make you late?" Sophia asked, worried. "It did," Michael said. "But it was the right kind of late. The kind where you're late because you're helping someone. That's always okay." "Character over comfort," Emma said, and Michael's heart nearly burst. "That's right, Mija. Character over comfort. Every single time. That night. After dinner and homework and baths. After he'd braided Sophia's hair for tomorrow and helped Emma study for her geometry test. After he'd read another chapter of Charlotte's Web and turned off the lights and kissed their foreheads. Michael sat in his kitchen with a cup of cheap instant coffee and Katherine's business card. He thought about her question. Why had he looked up at exactly that moment? Out of thousands of mornings crossing that bridge, why that one? Why was he paying attention right when it mattered most? He didn't have an answer. Maybe there wasn't one. Maybe it was just luck. Or maybe, just maybe, all those mornings of showing up, of doing the right thing when no one was watching, of choosing character over comfort. Maybe that creates a kind of attention, a kind of awareness, a muscle you build that lets you see when someone needs help. Michael thought about all the people who'd walked across that bridge at different times, who'd never been there at 5:38 a.m., who wouldn't have noticed Katherine on the ledge, who wouldn't have stopped even if they did notice. He'd been there, every single morning for 9 years, consistent, reliable, present. And when it mattered most, that consistency had saved a life. 3 days later, his phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Michael, it's Katherine. Katherine Chen, from the bridge." "Katherine, hi, how are you?" She paused. "I'm here. I'm with my sister. I started therapy. I'm not okay yet, but I'm working on it, and I wanted to thank you again. Properly this time, without the crying." "Well, a little crying is okay," Michael said gently. "How are you really doing?" "It's hard," Katherine admitted. "The company is gone. My reputation is probably destroyed. I'm having to rebuild my entire identity from scratch. But my sister is here, and my therapist is helping, and I'm starting to realize that maybe losing the company gave me something back." "What's that?" "My life," Katherine said simply. "I've been thinking about what you said, about how your daughters are watching, about how character matters more than achievement, and I realized I spent 15 years building something for external validation, for success that other people could measure, and I lost myself completely." She took a breath. "I don't know what comes next, but whatever it is, I want to build it differently. I want to build a life instead of just a resume. Does that make sense?" "It makes perfect sense," Michael said. "I also wanted to tell you something," Katherine continued. "I've been thinking about our conversation, about you working night security for $9 an hour, about your daughters and the bike and everything you're juggling, and I want to help. Katherine, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Let me finish." She sounded stronger now, more like the determined woman he'd seen walking across that bridge for 9 years. "I still have connections. I still have my network, and I've been making some calls. There's a corporate security position at a tech company downtown. Day shift. Benefits. $22 an hour to start. It's yours if you want it." Michael couldn't breathe. "Katherine, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. You gave me my life back. Let me give you a chance to be home with your daughters in the evenings, to not be exhausted all the time, to maybe save up for that bike a little faster." "I don't have a degree," Michael said. "I don't have the qualifications." "You have integrity," Katherine interrupted. "You have character. You have the kind of judgment that can't be taught. I told them about you, about what you did, about who you are. They want to meet you. If you're interested, I can send you the contact information." Michael sat down heavily in his kitchen chair, looked at the calendar on the wall where he'd been marking off days until Sophia's birthday, trying to calculate if he could make the bike happen. "Yes," he said, voice thick. "Yes, I'm interested. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Katherine said. You saved my life, Michael. This is the least I can do. Where are you watching from right now? What city? What country? Tell me in the comments. Single dads from around the world, let me know you're out there. You're not alone, you're not invisible. I see you. 2 weeks later, Michael started his new job. Day shift, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Benefits that included health insurance for himself and the girls. A salary that meant he could actually save money instead of constantly playing catch-up with bills. He could drop the girls at school himself in the mornings. He could pick them up in the afternoons. He could help with homework while he was alert instead of exhausted. He could read more than 20 pages at bedtime. He could buy Sophia that bicycle. On her 9th birthday, Michael walked into her room carrying a brand new bike. Purple, with a basket on the front and streamers on the handlebars and training wheels that could be removed when she was ready. Sophia screamed with joy, threw her arms around his neck. "Daddy, you got it! You really got it!" "Of course I got it," Michael said, hugging her tight. "You asked for one thing all year. You think I'd let you down?" Emma stood in the doorway, smiling. At 14, she was too old to show the same uninhibited excitement as her little sister. But Michael could see the pride in her eyes. Pride in him. Pride in what they'd built together. "I'm proud of you, Dad," she said later that night, after Sophia had gone to bed. "The new job, how hard you work, how you're always there for us. I just wanted you to know that." Michael pulled her into a hug. "I'm proud of you too, Mija. Both of you. You're the best thing I've ever done with my life. Even better than saving that lady on the bridge?" Michael pulled back, surprised. "How did you know about that?" Emma shrugged. "I heard you on the phone with her. The walls are thin, Dad." She paused. "Did you really save her life?" Michael thought about how to answer. "I reminded her that her life was worth saving. She did the actual saving herself." "That's still pretty cool," Emma said. "You're kind of a hero, Dad." "I'm not a hero," Michael said. "I'm just a dad who tries to do the right thing." "That's the same thing," Emma said simply. 3 months after the bridge, Katherine called again. "Michael, I have something I want to run by you. Are you free to talk?" "Sure. What's up?" "I've been doing a lot of thinking," Katherine said, "about what comes next for me, about what I want to build. And I keep coming back to something you said on the bridge, about how your daughters are watching, about how what we do matters more than what we have." "Okay," Michael said, curious where this was going. "I spent 15 years building a company focused on profit margins and market share. And yeah, we did good work. We helped people. But it was always secondary to growth. Always secondary to the bottom line. And I realized that's not what I want anymore. I want to build something that puts people first." She took a breath. "I'm starting a foundation, focused on single parents who are working full-time but still can't make ends meet. Scholarship programs for their kids, emergency assistance funds, job training and placement, mental health services. All the things I wish had existed for people like you when you needed them most." Michael's throat was tight. "Katherine, that's amazing." "I want you to help me build it," Katherine said. "Not as an employee, as a co-founder. Your story, your experience, your perspective, that's what this foundation needs. Not someone who theoretically understands poverty. Someone who's lived it. Someone who knows what single parents actually need because you've been there." "I don't have any experience with nonprofits. Neither did I when I started my first company," Katherine said. "We'll figure it out together. I have the connections and the fundraising experience. You have the lived experience and the credibility. Together we can build something that actually changes lives." She paused. "I'm not asking you to quit your new job. I know you need the stability and the benefits. But maybe a few hours a week. Maybe as an advisor. Maybe just to tell me when I'm missing something important. What do you think?" Michael thought about Sophia's bike, about the nights he'd lain awake wondering if he was enough, about all the single parents out there right now wondering the same thing. "I think I'd be honored," he said. "Good," Katherine said, and he could hear the smile in her voice. "Because I already registered the nonprofit. You want to know what I named it?" "What?" "The Bridge Foundation, because we're going to be there for people at their lowest moments. We're going to be the hand that helps them step back to solid ground. We're going to be what we both needed when we needed it most." Michael couldn't speak, couldn't do anything but try not to cry. "Michael," Katherine said gently, "you there?" "I'm here," he managed. Thank you for seeing me, for seeing all of us." "You saw me first," Katherine said. "On the worst morning of my life, you saw me. Now let's make sure other people get seen too. Know a single dad with a turnaround story? Someone who kept going when everything said quit? Send it to us. Include his city. Include his story. We want to hear it. Because these men deserve to be seen." That was 2 years ago. Today, the Bridge Foundation serves over 500 single-parent families across 3 states. They've provided over $2 million in emergency assistance. They've placed over 200 parents in living wage jobs with benefits. They've sent 68 kids to college who thought higher education was impossible. Katherine runs the foundation full-time now. She's remarried to a middle school teacher who loves her for who she is, not what she's built. She sees her sister every week. She's been in therapy for 2 years and says it saved her life as much as Michael did that morning. Michael still works his security job during the day, but 3 evenings a week he goes to the Bridge Foundation office and helps interview applicants, review cases, and share his story with other single parents who need to hear that it's possible to make it through. Emma is 16 now and volunteers at the foundation on weekends. She's applying to colleges and writing her essay about watching her father choose character over comfort every single day of her life. Sophia is 11 and wants to start a bike donation program through the foundation so other kids can have what she has. She says every kid deserves to feel special on their birthday. They still live in the same small apartment, still budget carefully, still sacrifice, but they're okay, more than okay. They're building something together. And every morning at 5:38 a.m., Michael still crosses the Riverside Bridge on his way home from dropping the girls at before-school program. He takes that route even though it's not the shortest anymore, even though he doesn't need to walk it to save bus fare. He takes it because that bridge changed his life, because that bridge taught him that showing up consistently, being present, paying attention, it matters. You never know when your ordinary routine is going to intersect with someone's extraordinary need. Sometimes he sees other people crossing the bridge. Sometimes he smiles at them. Sometimes they smile back. And sometimes he stops and talks to someone who looks like they're carrying the weight of the world. Sometimes he buys them a coffee. Sometimes he just listens, because grace recognizes good men, and good men recognize when someone needs grace. Let me tell you what this story is really about. It's not about rescue. It's not about one person being saved and another person being the hero. It's about 2 people who were both drowning in different ways and how they saved each other. Michael didn't have money, didn't have power, didn't have credentials or connections or anything the world says matters. He just had character. He had the habit of showing up, the discipline of being present, the courage to stop when someone needed help. And that character attracted grace. It attracted opportunity. It attracted the chance to build something meaningful. Katherine didn't have hope that morning on the bridge, didn't have purpose or direction or any reason to keep going. But she had Michael. She had someone who saw her when she was invisible, someone who reminded her that her life mattered, someone who showed her what character looks like when everything else is stripped away. And that reminder gave her the courage to rebuild, to start over, to create something that puts people first instead of profit, to use her second chance to give second chances to others. What's the most invisible sacrifice you've made for your family? The thing nobody sees. The thing that costs you everything and gets no recognition. Tell me in the comments, because I want you to know it matters, even when nobody sees, especially when nobody sees. Here's what I need you to understand. You are not your circumstances. You are not your bank account or your job title or your zip code or what car you drive or where your kids go to school. You are the choices you make when nobody's watching. You are the character you build through consistency and integrity and showing up even when you're exhausted. Michael Torres could have walked past that morning. He was tired. He was late. He had his own problems. He had every reason to mind his own business and let someone else handle it. But he stopped. He paid attention. He helped. And that choice, that single moment of choosing character over convenience, it changed everything. It saved Katherine's life. It led to a job that changed his family's circumstances. It created a foundation that's now changing hundreds of other lives. It showed his daughters what real masculinity looks like, not power or dominance or aggression, but strength in service of others. All because he stopped. All because he cared when he didn't have to. All because he chose character. You're probably thinking to yourself right now, but I'm just trying to survive. I'm just getting through each day. I don't have the luxury of thinking about character and purpose and all this philosophical stuff. I'm just trying to keep the lights on and food on the table and my kids from falling apart. I hear you. Michael thought that too. Every single morning crossing that bridge, he was doing math in his head, counting dollars, calculating survival, wondering if he was enough. But here's the thing. Character isn't a luxury. It's not something you get to think about once you're comfortable and secure and have everything figured out. Character is what you build in the struggle. Character is what you choose when it costs you something. Character is what you are when you have every reason to quit and you keep going anyway. And character has a way of being recognized. Not always immediately. Not always in the ways you expect. But eventually, somehow, grace recognizes good men. It always does. Sometimes it just takes time. Michael didn't know that stopping that morning would lead to anything. He didn't help Katherine because he thought it would benefit him. He helped her because it was right. Because she needed help and he was there, and that's what good people do. The reward came later. The job. The foundation. The opportunity to build something meaningful. But he didn't do it for the reward. He did it because of who he is. And that's what character is, that's what integrity is, that's what real masculinity is. Not the promise of reward. Just the choice to be good anyway. If your children could only inherit one thing from you, what would it be? Your money, your success, your achievements, or your character, your integrity, your example of what it means to be human in a world that tells you to look out for yourself first? Think about it. Because your kids are watching. They're always watching. They see when you help someone even though you're tired. They see when you choose honesty even when lying would be easier. They see when you stay consistent, even when quitting would be understandable. Emma and Sophia didn't just inherit their father's struggles. They inherited his character. They learned that what you do matters more than what you have. They learned that invisible work is still valuable work. They learned that showing up consistently, being present, helping others, that's what makes a life meaningful. And now Emma is applying to college with an essay about character. And Sophia wants to give other kids bicycles so they can feel special too. And they both volunteer at a foundation that exists because their father chose to stop on a bridge one morning. That's legacy. Not money. Not achievement. Character passed down. Values lived out. The next generation learning what really matters. Listen, if you're watching this right now and you're struggling, if you're a single parent working yourself to exhaustion, if you're wondering if any of it matters, if anyone sees, if you're enough, I need you to hear this. You are enough. You are more than enough. The fact that you're still trying, still showing up, still choosing your kids over your own comfort, still doing the right thing when it costs you everything, that's heroism. That's character. That's what actually matters. Michael Torres started with nothing. He had a 9th grade education and a security guard uniform and 2 little girls who deserved better than he thought he could give them. He was invisible. He was exhausted. He was one emergency away from losing everything. But he had character. And he stayed consistent. And he showed up every single day. And now he's changing lives. Now he's building something meaningful. Now his daughters are proud of him, not because of what he has, but because of who he is. That's possible for you too. Not the same story, not the same details, but the same principle. Character attracts grace. Consistency creates opportunity. Integrity matters even when no one's watching. You may feel invisible right now. You may feel like you're doing everything right and getting nowhere. You may feel like the world doesn't see you or value you or recognize what you're sacrificing. But your children see you. They're watching. They're learning. And what you're teaching them through your example, that's worth more than any amount of money or success or external validation. You're not just surviving. You're modeling. You're demonstrating. You're showing them what character looks like in real time. And that matters. God, that matters so much. Have you witnessed grace recognize a good man? Someone who kept showing up and eventually got their breakthrough? Someone who maintained their integrity and it paid off in unexpected ways? Share it in the comments. Include his city. Include his story. Because we need more of these stories. We need to know it's possible. Michael Torres had nothing except everything that actually matters. He didn't have wealth. He didn't have power. He didn't have credentials or connections or any of the things the world says you need to succeed. He had character. And character attracted grace. And grace opened doors he didn't even know existed. Katherine Chen had everything the world says matters. She was a CEO. She'd built a company from nothing. She had money and power and success and achievement. But she'd lost herself. She'd sacrificed her humanity on the altar of achievement. She'd won the game and lost her soul. Until a security guard on a bridge reminded her that she mattered, that her life had value. That character is more important than achievement. Together they built something beautiful, something meaningful, something that's changing lives. But it started with one choice, one moment. One man choosing to stop and help when he didn't have to. That's all it takes. One choice. One moment. One decision to be who you are instead of who the world tells you to be. You can do that. Right now. Today. Whatever you're facing, whoever you are, wherever you're watching from, you can choose character. You can choose integrity. You can choose to be the person your children will be proud of. Not because it's easy. Not because it's comfortable. Not because you'll get rewarded immediately, but because it's right. Because it matters. Because character attracts grace and grace has a way of showing up when you need it most. The paradox is this. Michael started with nothing. He was invisible, exhausted, struggling, barely surviving. And in the end, he has everything that actually matters. He has daughters who love and respect him. He has meaningful work that changes lives. He has the knowledge that his character mattered more than his circumstances. He has integrity intact. He has grace. That's the turnaround, not external rescue, not sudden wealth, but the recognition that what he'd had all along, his character, his integrity, his consistency, that was the treasure. That was what mattered. That was what would save him. He didn't need to be someone else. He needed to be fully himself, the best version of who he already was. And when he did that, when he showed up consistently, helped others, chose character over comfort, maintained his integrity even when it cost him, grace recognized him. Opportunity found him. His life changed. Not because he was lucky, because he was ready. Because he'd been building character all along, one invisible choice at a time. If this story moved you, share it with a single parent who needs to hear it. Share it with someone who's struggling and wondering if showing up matters. Share it with your kids so they can see what real heroism looks like. Leave me a comment. Where are you watching from? What's your city? What country? Subscribe to Single Dad Tales because I have more stories of invisible heroes. More stories of character attracting grace. More stories of men who had nothing except everything that matters. And if you're a single dad with a turnaround story, maybe it hasn't happened yet, but you're still showing up anyway, send it to us. Include your city. Include your struggle. Include your character. Because grace recognizes good men. It always does. Sometimes it just takes time. Character attracts grace. Remember that on the hard days. Remember that when you're exhausted and wondering if any of it matters. Remember that when you're choosing between doing the right thing and doing the easy thing, your story isn't over. Your circumstances don't define you. Your choices do. You are not invisible. Your children see you. The universe sees you. Grace sees you. Keep going. Keep showing up. Keep choosing character. Your turnaround is coming. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe next year. Maybe it's already here and you just haven't recognized it yet. But it's coming. Because character always attracts grace. Always.